Yo, what is up, podcast listeners? This is Vinamre Kasanaa coming to you live from my phone in a quiet location in Goa. Not really quiet. There's background noise, so just enjoy that. That's just going to be a part of this recording because I don't have any equipment on me and my voice is hoarse. So I'm going to do the best that I can. The first question is from Pills Addict. 3 things I would tell my younger self. That's kind of funny. Actually, I would ask my younger self to meditate a bit more. A little bit of self-awareness goes a long way when you're a 16-year-old doing dumb stuff, because we all do dumb stuff all the time. The second thing I would say is expect your plans to fail. As a serial planner in my teenage years, I've become less plan-oriented and more about, I have to say, for lack of a better word, action and uh, taking it as it comes, but then also having a long-term vision that's clearly defined in my own eyes, but ambiguous enough that it doesn't give me anxiety, and also like an assurance that things will work out in the grand scheme because I am working for them. So expecting meticulous plans to fail, that's going to happen a lot. Just being okay with that. The third thing is not making monsters in your head. If you have a vivid imagination, it's very easy to become an overthinker and become paranoid delusionally. No point. And so I would say use your creative imagination to the best of your capability, but like know the extents of where the mind can take you. That's probably my 3 things. Second question is from Rhythm. Do you have any regrets, and do you feel bad about them? Well, the nature of a regret is that you feel bad about them because you say, fuck, I regret this, so and so happened, blah, blah, blah. I don't have that because it would just sort of bog me down, and I would carry around my past self, at least consciously. Unconsciously, I may have regrets that I don't even know of, but no, other than that, I don't have regrets. I try to reframe everything into, how do I say it, like positively reframe things. I think that really helps. Beyond that, I still think, I have plenty of life to live, and I hope to get to 70 or 80 without any regrets. That's a challenge that I'm going to take on. Anyway, next question is from Rakshit Agarwal. How do you start a podcast and how to get guests? Share your journey, share your learnings from your journey. I just hit record, bought a microphone, and got the first friend I could find for a podcast. And did like a pseudo masterclass because I was inspired by Tim Ferriss and the likes of those guys in the self-development space. And it just, I kept on going from there. Initially didn't have a lot of responses and stuff, considered too complicated, too English, blah, blah, blah. I think till episode 40, I probably changed the direction of my podcast completely 3 or 4 times, which is something I highly recommend if you're starting out, because most marketers / brand people will tell you, you should have a niche and all of that. I'd say if you're young, your best bet is to experiment as much as you can, and then once you figure out the topics / areas you're naturally confident in, you can start doubling down on them. But there's no reason to make a vanilla style podcast as a 16-year-old marketer and brander, because you can really just like talk about your curiosities and experience. You don't really have much to put on the table beyond your passion and like your desire to be a part of like a bigger world. So being able to pivot and show your personality is like a great thing for your podcast. Guests, again, send 100 emails, get 10 yeses, maybe 8 if you're lucky, something like that. A lot of no's, and then from there, if you know one person, it's really easy to get to the other one. You just say, can you connect me to them? As simple as that. Or you figure out if your guest has related guests that you would like to interview or get on the podcast, and see if they know each other via Instagram. That's what I often did. And so when you send your email, you say, I've already done this podcast with this friend of yours or this person you follow on Instagram. That usually creates, even without my physical presence, creates some kind of a social arbitrage situation where they're like, I already know this person, I trust this person, and now they've been on this guy's podcast, so why don't I also say yes to a number's invitation to his podcast? That's how I go about it. Hope this helps. The next question is from Harsha Tolani 10. How did you find your inclination towards writing? What were your conceptions when you first started? I think whenever you switch from any kind of assigned reading or writing at school is when your quote-unquote creative journey really begins, whether that's painting, drawing, or even writing for that matter, or even dancing, right? So I often went away from what was assigned to me in school, and I think I really started to write my thoughts down, as private and weird as that seems. in maybe like third or fourth grade, but really cheesy poems and stuff, just things that are like safely within the confines of what an academic mind can think of, and then moving on from there. So then I realized I was kind of good at it. I enjoyed it. Misconceptions, several. I think I used to believe that everything I said had to be about nature and had to be beautiful and had to have this sort of sleepy English poem quality. But as I grew up and did more writing, I realized you could be a non-fiction writer, you could be a business writer, you could be a guy who just tweets. The definition really expanded with the advent of online writing for me, and so a lot of those misconceptions were removed. The other thing is, I thought I had to be needlessly complex with my words and impress people. Um, while it's nice to have an extensive vocabulary, I certainly am thankful for it and I keep on building on it. If it stands in the way of what you're trying to say, you've sort of defeated the point. So I'd rather have someone who writes simply than someone who writes cleverly but fails to even be clever. So yeah, those misconceptions were removed. I hope this helps. Then Aniket, wow, you have three Ks and three Ts in your name. I understand because there might be a lot of Anikets. Your good and bad experiences studying in the USA. I just have good experiences, which is that I was able to become a complete individual, independent of others, and figured out who, at least start the journey of who I could be in the absence of family and friends from back home. So a chance to completely reinvent myself and add layers and remove layers that I could not because of constraints of living in India or not having enough infrastructure to see the potential of my intellectual, mind, or even my physical capabilities, all of those things. So it allowed me to become a complete individual. Vintage Vision Shops ask Vintage Vision Shop asks, who was your role model growing up as a teen? Strangely enough, and I don't recommend it, my role model was Jim Morrison and Sid Barrett, two rock stars whose lives were horribly spoiled by some kind of latent mental illness and drugs, and they both died. But yeah, and in that phase, I was really rebellious, so they were like the right guys. I sympathize with them right now. I have no need. I don't feel any need to make them a role model. So I guess my dad also was a role model. Although it's really hard to see someone who's responsible and mature as a role model when your age invites anything but that. But yeah, my dad is a bigger role model now than he was before. Any underrated podcasts in India you listen to religiously? No, yaar. I just listen to my own podcast and a couple of podcasts abroad. Prakhar_says asks, can anyone become a writer or does it need a natural talent? No, I think anyone can become a writer. It's just about practice. I know of plenty of writers in history, Hemingway, Hunter S. Thompson, who were horrible writers, even David Perel, the internet writing guy. But they just practiced a fuck ton. School considered them stupid, and they failed in their writing classes and all that. But with enough practice, you can really, it pays to have talent, but I don't know to what extent. In the long run, even a great podcast with Tim Ferriss that Jerry Seinfeld did, where he said he was neither a good writer, not particularly funny, but he wrote a joke a day, and he compounded that for 30 days. 30 years actually, and he's still considered to be one of the greatest living comedians. So that's a testament to where practice can take you when mere talent won't suffice. Next question is by Rishika Teswal. Why are you so rude? Just the way I live my life, babe. Fuck. Ritik.jpeg asks, India में Peterson, Zizek, Gad Saad जैसे professors, public speakers क्यों नहीं है? Yeah, because I think Indians are not interested in critical thinking. Actually, I'll reframe that. They're not interested in the nuances of an individual's ideas. I think we still see people as representatives of a class, of a group, members of a religion, all of those things. So that really stands in the way. The only professors I've seen become public speakers are like, I have only recently heard from Anand Ranganathan, who's a JNE professor, pretty active in the Indic political scene in India, but I don't know much about him apart from the compilations that I see online. And considering the number of people that live in India, he's a very small intellectual figure in that aspect. I know of Kumar Vishwas, who has pivoted to some kind of a reinterpretation of Ramayana using his speeches and his programs. Also, I think to just talk about ideas such as the nature of reality or the merits of, you know, like a controversial idea, all of those things, you need to look past religion and politics. And right now, our intellectual space is dominated by religion and politics. So there's very little room for the third, right? And the third is where we might have something that looks like a Gad Saad, Peterson, Zizek, Sam Harris type world in India. It's just going to take a while. Especially, it might become easier if we can somehow integrate. I don't know. This is just me, hypothesizing. If we can integrate some kind of Indian ancient Vedic wisdom, if at all it exists and is as hyped as they say, into modern sciences. But I don't know. This might just be dumb. I don't know. I don't really know about it. Rhythm himself asks, writing on paper versus typing. Definitely writing paper all the time. I hate typing. Mohawk 10. How did you get into BU? Is it really tough to get in? It was tough to get into BU when I got in 2015. It's way tougher to get in now. The SAT score has risen up in the requirements. The essay requirement has risen up. The grade requirement has risen up. When I applied to BU, I barely had no idea. I had no idea how would I even get in the college and stuff, because I had a counselor and stuff, but I wasn't really reliant on them. Spent about 1 year just solidly researching forums every single night before bed. So that really helped me get an obsessively correct picture of the whole admission system. And the weak point I found in my application was my grades. I stopped caring about grades in 11th grade and got a 49%, which was, there is no way I could get into BU. So I realized I had to compensate in other parts of my application, and I wrote the best essay I could possibly write at that time, and that's how I got in. That's the truth. Finally, Nishant writes one, asks, personal brand brings work, but is it a setback while deals because so much info about you is out there? The answer is no. In fact, whenever I've done quote unquote deals, people often or will refer to something I made in the past, and we can joke about it, I can explain it, or that just becomes like a micro proof of work, the fact that they watched it. So no, it doesn't. Look, this is the cost of playing the game of personal branding. Every game is a cost. This is this, and if you reframe it in the right way, it stops being a cost. It's just the requirement for being in the game, because some games require that you have certain requirements that you meet. It's not a free roam game. That's what I would say. Manish Mali asks, I want to grow, don't know what to read. Please suggest 6 books to start with. I'm done with Chetan Bhagat. That's hilarious that you're done with that guy. I think he's not done with us. He's a YouTube channel. But look, I'm not going to give you 6 books that'll grow your personality or give you self-help advice. I'll just give you 6 random books. Consider that growth, because you have to figure out if you really like them or not, and maybe even buy them or pirate them. I don't know. You've asked me this question, so here it goes. Just 6 random books that come to the top of my head without any thought to it. Say Zen Keys by Thich Nhat Hanh. You can look it up. Zen Keys, right? The second book I would say is Conference of the Birds. I don't know who the author is. These are 2 religious literacy books that you would enjoy, perhaps. A third book I would probably recommend is Low by J. Tyle, which is a fantastic book about a man who loses his wife and then goes on a bender. But yeah, just book recommendations. Also, what else could you read? My friend Drupad Karwa recommended Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. I'd go with that. What else? Oh, I would also read Man's Search for Meaning by Viktor Frankl. That's pretty interesting. Oh, wait, no. Yeah, that's him. And then finally, An Itch You Can't Scratch by Sumit Kumar, aka Bakar Max. 6 random books. Suit yourself. Kanehaneha asks, what's the closest thing to real magic? I'd probably say flight. I've had numerous dreams of flights, and you can spare me the horror about your dream and interpretations of what flying means, but in general, I think being able to fly is a remarkable experience. There's something about, Actually, I'm an air sign as well. I'm a Gemini Vedic. For those of you who don't know what it is, don't bother. But that's why I'd probably say flight is the closest thing to real magic, at least for me. The private man asks how to shape your personality for good growing up. I can give you cliched answers like read a book, go and meet interesting people, blah blah blah. Or I can say something like go to what no one else is doing. But I think neither of those are exactly on target. The best thing you can do to shape your personality for good growing up is to be around other people who have good personalities. At least I got a lot of inspiration from musicians and movie stars and seeing how they behaved and mimicking their accents, their theatrics, the way I would respond if someone said, "So how do you feel about all this success?" I'd say, "This is how I feel," or like, "It's not a big thing, blah blah blah." Is तरह से, it's a bit cheesy, but beyond that, the other thing I did is to start, even in a small capacity, to start representing my school in different competitions and with competitions within school, because that allows you to quote unquote become like in a very physical sense like a competitor in the real world, which I think is super important. Like you're at a debate competition and you're like, I represent this school, my name is this. That alone allows for you to break from script and allow some of that personality to shine in to even develop that in the first place. I don't know, sort of a whirlwind answer. I'm losing my voice now, but that's what I would probably say. ठीक है, I think I'll answer these questions and I'll answer the rest on another AMA. Thank you so much for tuning in. It's been a blast talking to you. Not for my voice at least, but for my mind. See you all in the next episode with the proper guest. Happy New Year.